Hi, and welcome back to the Repair Panda. Today's episode, we are working on HT1250, and it came in for LP, which is also known as low power, from where this came from. So we're going to connect it to our Freedom monitor, see what kind of power is pushing it out, and we'll go from there. So stay tuned. Alright, now that we have our radio connected here, as you can see, we are transmitting at 485.55 right now. So let's key up our radio and see what our input power is telling us when it's pushing out high power. This should be a 4-watt radio. So it should be pushing out anywhere between 3.8 and like 4.3-ish watts. And of course, right there it's pushing out 4.0, almost on the dot. So this radio is actually not pushing out low power. Let's just give it a test here. Wiggle the antenna port. The PTT button is messed up though. Like I'm wiggling the PTT and it's cutting in and out. Let's see the receive side. Alright, so as you can see, this radio is pushing out enough power at 4 watts, almost even, and jumps around between 3.9 to 4 watts. What the issue is actually the PTT button, the push to talk button. So we're going to change this up from a low power fix to a PTT button fix. Alright, and stick around. We'll get back over to the work desk and we'll take this radio down to the board and fix that PTT button. Alright, now that we're back over our work desk here, let's start taking this apart. We'll take off the antenna port, take off the battery, and pop the radio out of its housing. And to do that, we use a flathead screwdriver and just get right in between the middle of the piece of the plastic housing and the metal frame and just pop out. Alright? And if you pull it up high enough, these knobs will come straight off. We'll toss those. Those are pretty shitty looking knobs. And now what I do is I push from the volume pot and pull down at the same time. And there you go. We now have a radio outside of its housing, the HT1250 housing. So as you can see, we have 2 flexes down here. All you have to do is pop up these 2 brown clips, retainer clips, and the entire housing is now off. Just like all the other radios, it does have screws holding it down to the metal base, which are, for Motorola standards, are T6s. So let's go grab our T6 bit right here, and we'll take off these 5 screws. I normally put the screws down in this little cavity right here. That way I know where they are, and there's no other issues with them. And no other issues. There's no issues finding them at a later date. Alright, and then we just pull up on the board, set the frame aside, and there we go. We now have the PCB board off of the radio. And now we just take a quick visual look. Its battery contact's a little bit in that to the right. And now it's a little to the left. There we go. That's all put back together. Or straightened out, I should say. And there's nothing else on the board that looks to be an issue. Now let's take a look at this PTT button real quick. It doesn't look like there's anything wrong. It does look like it's actually connected. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a shield to shield these 3 pieces of plastic, heat this up, take it off, and go and replace it with a different one off of a donor board. So give me 1 second and we'll get that going. Alright, so now we're just going to heat the board up until the solder melts. And once that's done, we'll remove the tactile button here, also known as the PTT. And then I'll go get a donor board and we'll pull one off of there. Alright, and now that we have that off, we take our shield off. And as you can see, these 3 things did not get mounted. So if you give me a minute, I'm going to go find myself a donor board and go get a new tactile button for this PTT and see if that fixes the issue. I'll be right back. Alright, I have gotten a new tactile button, or PTT, if you want to call it that, from a donor board here. Here's the donor board. As you can see, I've actually used a few buttons off of this one already. So we got that. We're going to clean this up with our desoldering gun, get all this extra solder off, and put brand new solder on there. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see here. There we go. And give that a little clean there. Alright. So now, I'm going to put this PTT button on the board. I don't use a board holder for this. I use just a little bit of leverage and like this. So I have a little plastic piece that goes on the Kenwood volume pop that's going to help hold this a little bit more flat instead of angled down. So we're going to put the PTT button on, and then we're going to come in with our soldering iron, get some solder on there, and then now we just straighten it up. There we go. Not straight enough. Let's turn it this way. This way we can actually see how straight it is. Come on. There we go. There we go. Alright. Now there's 4 more points, 2 in the back, 1 on the side, and 1 on the front. So let's go ahead and solder those up. And then just the one on the front here. There we go. We now have a brand new, to this board, PTT. So let's go ahead and put it back onto the frame. And then we'll put a battery on it and check the PTT and make sure it actually, when you wiggle it, it doesn't cut in and out. And we turn it on. Radio turns on. And we get our antenna adapter here so we can attach it to our Freedom monitor. What's going on there? There we go. I just didn't have it in. So we attach it to our Freedom monitor, make sure it's still pushing out 4 watts. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, check. Still pushing out 3.9. Now if we wiggle our button, it doesn't cut in and out like it did last time. So now what I'll do is I'm going to replace the housing into something nicer, replace this keypad, and write to the customer in the notes, in the repair notes, saying that this radio was not low power like they thought, but it was actually a PTT button issue. So stay tuned. I got a lot more of these to go through today, and the ones that I think would be a great part of this video, I'll add to this video. See you in a little bit. Alright, thanks for sticking around. I finally found another one that I haven't touched on. Most of the ones I did today were mostly just volume pots and engraved housings, and let's be honest, that doesn't make great content for me. So, I found one that has a no power up. So as you can see, I have a battery on, turn off, turn on, no power. Give it a little twist, still no power. Maybe, hold on. I saw a green light. Nope. No power whatsoever, it's dead. So there's a few things that can cause this issue on an HT1250. You have a few components that could be the issue for this no power radio. One could be your volume pot, that's right here, which we can replace and see if it turns on. Another one could be the power fuse that's on the back side of the PCB board, which we can check when we get the radio out of the frame. Another one could be the power amp that could be having issues allowing power to pass through it and shorted to ground, so it doesn't allow for a complete power up. Or another one could be the voltage regulator. The voltage regulator I don't really mess with. Unfortunately, I don't have parts for that right now. But I might be able to find a parts board if it is that voltage regulator. If not, hopefully the other 3 items that I just mentioned are the issues that we might be able to fix. So let's go ahead and disassemble this radio, and we'll be right back. I found the issue. The radio was not connected to the flexes. So let's go ahead and connect the flexes. That'd be why I thought I saw a green light. Throw it back in here real quick. Come on. There we go. That was an easy fix, everybody. It was just not connected. That's all it was. Sometimes it's super easy and no components are at issue. Because, you know, like, without opening this up, I had no idea those flexes were not connected to the board. It's just a shame that somebody didn't actually crack this open to make sure everything was actually working just fine and actually connected. So, we now fixed a now power up. I'm going to go ahead and run this through the test on the Freedom monitor and get a new keypad on here. The housing's actually in a pretty good shape, so I'm not too worried about it. So we'll replace the keypad with a new keypad, and we'll call it good on this one. Well, hopefully the next one I pull out will be a better one than this one. See you in a little bit. Alright, so here's one last one. I already checked it, made sure that the low power that somebody labeled this is actually low power. And of course, there's no issue with the power. It's pushing out 3.5 watts with a little tuning. It most likely will be up. Though, after working on radios all day, my battery is not fully charged anymore. So it could also be the battery that's not allowing 4 watts to be pushed out. But the other issue is the battery contacts. These are bent. I can bend them back, but I mean, they've been up and out of them, out of the retainer clip that's down there, this white piece of plastic down here. So we're going to open this up, put brand new battery contacts on there, use a parts board for a new retainer clip, and then put it back together, and this radio will be back and ready to go. So let's go ahead and take the radio apart. And as you can see, the antenna port's not actually connected either. The solder has, I'm going to say rotted away, but has broken. So we can reattach the antenna port, and we'll probably go ahead and replace this volume pot as well once we get the battery contacts situated. Alright, so now we want to go ahead and just remove the 5 screws. And like I said, the antenna port is no longer attached. I have brand new antenna ports somewhere, so I'm going to take a look for those so we can use a brand new antenna port as well. So now we just have the PCB board. If we flip it over, you can see our battery contacts. Just pull off the battery gasket, set that off to the side. And with the pair of pliers, just gently pull up and out on the retainer clip, and it will come out just fine. I actually should have a few laying around here somewhere to replace that with. So now we go ahead and get our board into your vise and start heating it up. And as always, I'm at 750 degrees to 800 degrees, somewhere in between there, with 100% airflow. And now we're just going to heat up the board and take off these old battery contacts, and then we'll replace them with new ones. Alright. Now with the battery contacts off, we're going to go and pull some new battery contacts out of my supply box over there, and we'll be right back to put them right back on. Alright. So here are some brand new battery contacts for HTs and CP200s, PR400s, and CP200Ds. They're all roughly the same, and the aftermarket battery contacts works perfectly on all of them. Only issue is they're not pre-tinned. So we're going to tin these up and then go ahead and get them back on here. So let's get that done now. Alright, now with them pre-tinned, oof, a little hot still. Now, I probably shouldn't have done them still in the plastic retainer clip, but it's alright. Come on, there you go. Tried to yeet itself out of existence there. We're not going to let it happen though. There's one, there's two, and there's three. Alright. And just clean the retainer clip off. It just has a bunch of flux. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and start heating this area up. As you can see, there's still a decent amount of solder on there, so I'm not going to worry about adding new. So now we're just going to heat the board back up and add in the new battery contacts. And there you go. The end there had a little bit of too much solder, so we're going to try to get that lifted there. Alright. Now we're just going to lift them just a tad bit. Come on. Give them a little yank. Make sure they're not stuck down like that last one still is. There we go. Come on. There we go. Just get some of that extra solder out of there so that the retaining clip lays flat. There we go. And there we go. Now we just get the retainer clip. And we're going to add it right back in. That's not how it's supposed to go. There we go. Now we want to make sure we get these pushed down so they go inside the retainer clip. So push them down while pushing the retainer clip forward. And there you go. You have brand new, good looking battery contacts. So what we're going to do is we'll add in the battery contact gasket again. And we'll get the little nub it has up underneath. Oops. Wasn't supposed to do that. That's alright. There we go. And there you go. So now after all this, we just need to add in a new antenna port, which I still have to find some. If not, we'll still be able to add the old one back onto it, no problem, and replace the old. All we have left to do is add the antenna port back. I'm going to double check my supply, see if I have any brand new ones, and replace the volume pot. So give me 1 second. Let me go check my supply to see if I have any new HT antenna ports. If not, we'll just reuse the other one and we'll replace the volume pot. I'll be right back. Alright. I couldn't find any brand new antenna ports. So what we're going to do, we'll go clean this one up and put it back on. So there's nothing wrong with this one. It's just these pins, the soldered points, are pretty sure on the old style and non-aftermarket antenna ports. So what I was looking for was a new one that had slightly larger pins that actually came all the way through the radio. But hey, it didn't happen. So we'll just reuse this one. There's nothing wrong with reusing this one. It just needs to get all the grime taken off. So I'm just going to use some isopropyl alcohol in my brush here. I'm going to do the same thing on the board. And then we're going to clean out all of the old solder as well. All 5 holes. That way it has a good secure bond with new solder. Alright. With that good, I'm going to add a little bit of flux to each hole on the back side. Now you can put them on the front side as well, but I do the back side. That way when I push the antenna port through, it pushes the flux with it. Alright. We get 1 hole. Now with 1 hole down, I can put it down and get the other 4 holes. Alright. Now as you can see, solder has come through these 2 holes. Not that one, not this or that one. So to do that, we're just going to hold a nice big heat source onto the radio and push the solder through. Just make sure it goes through all of them. Alright. Now we're going to clean it up. And we'll give it a little droop test. Make sure it's on there. Yep, that's on there pretty solid. And there you go. Now we have our antenna port attached back. We're going to replace the volume pot, put this radio back together, put it in a new housing as this housing's not that great. And then we'll go and give it a test. If you guys haven't noticed, in most of my videos, I replace a lot of the volume pots because that is the main used component on this radio, physically, I should say. Not to mention, it's always the one that fails. So, here we go. Alright, this pin right here is giving me a little issue, so we're going to coax it just a tad bit by heating the board up. And voila! There you go. And now all we do is take our pliers, rock it back and forth. And there you go. Clean up all the old gunk that's on there. Grab us a new volume pot. Slap it in there. Hold it in there. And let's go ahead and get 1 point soldered. Let it solidify. And now we're good to go on all the other points of the volume pot. And don't forget the top two, the 2 anchor points. There we go. Perfect. Now always, like always, I come back through and make it look super nice as possible. There we go. Clean up the leftover flux from the flux core, rosin core solder I use. Alright, and there you go. So we're now ready to go ahead and put this back together. So we're going to fix the radio gasket here. Get that all fixed up. There we go. And then we just slide it into place and screw it together. Alright. And there you guys have it. Brand new. And there you guys have it. Some brand new battery contacts, new volume pot, and reattached antenna port. Well, all I got left to do with this radio is get it back into a brand new housing, make it look brand new, and get the repair, and then get the repair written down. That way the customer knows what I did to the radio, and go ahead and ship it back to the customer. So I appreciate you guys sticking around for all 3 radios I worked on today. Well, 2 radios I worked on, and one that somebody just didn't open up a housing and didn't realize that was all that was wrong with that radio. If you guys have made it this far, please leave a like down below, a comment on what other videos you would like me to do pertaining to radios, and if you wouldn't mind, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build a small little business, and anything that you guys do on my channel really helps me and keeps me motivated, so I really appreciate it. So until next week, you guys have a good one. Bye.